The best book when it comes to personal growth is definitely Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, the #1 personal finance book of all time. The theme of the book is how to use money as a tool for wealth development. It destroys the myth that the rich are born rich, describes the real difference between an asset and a liability, and much more. Rich Dad, Poor Dad contains 10 chapters plus the introduction, but the book is focused on the first 6. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, had 2 influential fathers in his life. Poor Dad was Kiyosaki's biological father, a man who was intelligent and well-educated. Poor Dad believed in studying hard and getting good grades, then finding a well-paying job. Yet, despite these positive attributes, Poor Dad didn't do well financially. Rich Dad was the father of Kiyosaki's best friend. He had a similar work ethic to Kiyosaki's real dad. He believed in financial education and understanding how to make money work for you. He became a millionaire by putting the power of money to work for him. The book is about how Rich Dad makes money and the mistakes that Poor Dad made. The first 6 chapters of Rich Dad, Poor Dad discuss the 6 lessons that Kiyosaki learned from his rich dad. Now let me show you these 6 important lessons for your personal growth. #1, the rich don't work for money. Sometimes people misunderstand this affirmation and believe that it means the rich don't work. The complete opposite is true. Instead of reading it as the rich don't work for money, what Kiyosaki means to say is the rich don't work for money. By emphasizing the word money, this has a different meaning. The majority of rich people work very hard, but they go about it differently than most people. Rich people, and people who want to become rich, work and learn every day how to make money to work for them. As Rich Dad says, the poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Kiyosaki also notes that having a regular job is just a short-term solution to the long-term problem of creating wealth and financial freedom, and he says, "It's fear that keeps most people working at a job. The fear of not paying their bills, the fear of being fired, the fear of not having enough money, and the fear of starting over. That's the price of studying to learn a profession or trade, and then working for money. Most people become a slave to money, and then get angry at their boss." #2, why teach financial literacy? The second lesson of Rich Dad, Poor Dad explains the difference between an asset and a liability. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. An asset is something that has value, that produces income and has a market where the asset can easily be bought and sold. Instead, liabilities take money out of your pocket because of the cost associated with them. When Rich Dad, Poor Dad was first published back in 1997, Kiyosaki created a lot of controversy with that statement. That's because, by definition, a personal residence isn't an asset. Rental property is an asset because it can generate enough passive income to exceed the costs of financing real estate. #3, mind your own business. There are 2 key messages in this chapter. The first is to pay off your debts and start investing in income-producing assets as soon as possible. Next, stay financially healthy by spending your time instead of your paycheck, and investing as much of your money as possible in assets. Kiyosaki notes in this chapter that most people confuse their profession with their business. They spend their entire lives working in somebody else's business and making other people rich. #4, the history of taxes and the power of corporations. When reading Chapter 4, it's important to keep in mind that Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad as a motivational book and not to provide expert financial or tax advice. Kiyosaki writes about the time he bought a Porsche and treated it as a business expense, using before-tax dollars. But putting the Porsche aside, the points made in this chapter discuss how to play the investment game smart. The rich understand the power of company structures and the tax code and use every legal means they can to minimize their tax burden. Now let's compare how business owners and investors with corporations pay taxes to how most people pay taxes. Business owners with a corporate structure. #1, earn. #2, spend. #3, pay taxes. while employees who work for corporations 1. Earn, 2. Pay taxes, 3. Spend. Employees who work for somebody else spend their money after paying tax, while business owners earn and spend before paying tax. In this chapter, Kiyosaki also talks about what he calls financial IQ. That includes accounting, investment strategy, marketing law, and law. As Rich Dad Poor Dad reminds us, understanding the legal and tax advantages significantly contribute to building long-term wealth. Number 5. The rich invent money. Inventing money means finding opportunities or deals that other people don't have the skill, knowledge, resources, or contacts for. In this lesson, Rich Dad Poor Dad explains there are 2 types of investors. Investment packages are bought by people who give their money to a developer or fund manager. This is the way that most people invest, buying shares of an ETF or putting money into real estate. While professional investors look after their investments, research the market to find deals that make sense, then hire professionals to manage the daily oversight. Number 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. Poor Dad was intelligent and well-educated and worked for money because he believed that job security was the most important thing, while Rich Dad became a millionaire by working to learn. As Kiyosaki writes, I recommend to young people to seek work for what they will learn, more than what they will earn. Look down the road as to what skills you want to acquire before choosing a specific profession and before getting trapped in the rat race. That's exactly what Kiyosaki did. He joined the Marines after graduating from college and learned the essential business skills of leading and managing people. After serving his country, Kiyosaki joined Xerox, overcame his fear of rejection, and became one of the top 5 salespeople in the company, then left the corporate world to form his own business. Then, he discussed the synergy of management skills needed for success in business, which are cash flow management, systems management, and people management. Now, we discussed the 6 lessons Kiyosaki gave us in this book. Now let's talk about the last chapters of the book. At the beginning of chapter 7 of Rich Dad Poor Dad, there is this sentence: the primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they manage fear. There are 5 biggest obstacles that people face on their way to becoming financially independent. Fear. Losing money is investing life, and so is the fear that comes along with it. Kiyosaki says that he has never met a rich person who has never lost money, but he has met a lot of poor people who have never lost anything because they've never invested. Cynicism. Things like the economy crashing, interest rates rising, and tenants not paying their rent are common fears that all real estate investors have. While there are important items to consider, it's important not to allow the cynicism of others to overtake your control. Otherwise, you may become immobilized as opportunities pass you by. Laziness. In today's world, it's easy to confuse being busy with actually accomplishing things that matter. In fact, Kiyosaki says that busy people are often the laziest. Successful real estate investors are proactive and take care of themselves and their wealth first, instead of mistaking action for accomplishment. Bad habits. Habits control behavior. Most people pay their bills first before they pay themselves. The results of that are usually very little left at the end of the month for investing. Paying yourself first makes you financially stronger, mentally and fiscally. In a way, it's a form of reverse psychology. When you develop the habit of paying yourself first, you become motivated by the fear of not being able to pay the creditors. Arrogance. Investors know what makes them money, but it's the things that they don't know that make them lose money. When people become truly arrogant, they believe that what they don't know doesn't matter. Kiyosaki suggests training yourself to listen to what other people have to say, especially when it comes to money and investing. If you discover you're ignorant about a subject, educate yourself or find an expert in the field. Overcoming these 5 biggest obstacles on the path to real estate success requires balance and focus. These obstacles and the failure to overcome them are why people who have studied and achieved financial literacy are still unable to develop assets that generate plentiful amounts of cash flow. In Chapter 8, Rich Dad Poor Dad tells us that there is gold everywhere. Most people are not trained to see it. Part of this lack of vision and clarity comes from the world we live in. We're trained from a young age to work hard for someone else, spend the money that we earn, and borrow them if we run out of them. People who choose to become one of the massive never take the time to develop their financial genius. Investing in real estate is the perfect example. The average person can spend a week searching for the right investment and find nothing, while the investor who has trained himself can easily find deals that make sense in a single day. In the final chapters of Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kiyosaki write the key lessons of the book together into a checklist of actions you can start taking today. If you had to choose one key lesson from Rich Dad Poor Dad, it may be that rich people are not always born rich. Even though Kiyosaki first published Rich Dad Poor Dad nearly 25 years ago, the lessons he wrote about back then can still be put into practice today. Begin with your financial education, then create your objectives to begin your path to long-term wealth and financial freedom. The goal of Rich Dad Poor Dad is to motivate you to develop your own unique path to financial freedom. While the book doesn't take a one-sized approach with ready-made answers, it does provide an excellent framework for creating your own objectives to build wealth by investing in real estate. Let me know what you think about this book in the comments, and keep following this channel if you're interested in this kind of content. For now, thank you for watching, and see you next time.